Okay, so everybody's talking about it, and I think we have to talk about it right now. And that is the coaching changes that are looming for the Oklahoma Sooners because everybody's kind of watching the defensive coordinator thing, especially after Brent Venables potentially just found this home run hire last year, but it doesn't pan out to stay for more than 1 year. So everybody's throwing out the name Jim Knowles, and I certainly want to talk about that today, but I think there are more potential coaching changes that are coming down the line for Oklahoma fans. And I think as you see some of these head coaching vacancies get filled, as you see the defensive coordinator role at Oklahoma get filled, you might see some movement. So I want to talk about all of that today. Before we do, as always, join the discussion, jump in the comments below. Give me your thoughts. Of course, I know everybody wants to give their thoughts on how Jim Knowles is not coming to Oklahoma. Tell me why you think Jim Knowles is not coming to Oklahoma. Don't jump in the comments and say, there's no way we could get a guy like that. Tell me why you think a guy like Jim Knowles would not come to the University of Oklahoma if he was paid the right amount and if Brent Venables approached it, right? Or whoever approached his agent. And I think that's where you got to start, right? Is Jim Knowles, because that's the one that I think everybody's focused on. You're seeing everybody be super negative about, and it's Oklahoma going out there and getting the guy that's currently in the national championship, coaching one of the top 10 best defenses in the entire country at Ohio State. Mind you, in a conference where they're not like all-star offensive teams that they have to go up against every single week, but they are one of the second, or if not the first best conference this year in college football. They still have to defend really good offenses. And Jim Knowles took the collective talent that Ohio State had and completely took it to a whole nother level. Like, I don't think people understand the Ohio State defense before Jim Knowles got there. It was good, but it wasn't like championship good. Like, they were not Oklahoma bad, but they also weren't, the Georgia good. And I would say this defense is on the level of what we've seen from Georgia over the past couple of years. Like, Jim Knowles has been phenomenal everywhere he's been at calling the defense. And this is intriguing why Brent Venables would potentially want a guy like Jim Knowles. Now, have we actually heard anything credible in terms of rumors of Jim Knowles wanting to come to Oklahoma outside of Sooner Scoop? Kind of talking about, that possibility and kind of talking about how, Oklahoma's potentially talked to agents. We really haven't seen anything concrete. Now, I'm not discrediting what Sooner Scoop's putting out there because I want Jim Knowles to happen, right? I'm just saying that obviously this is not a conversation that's happening between Brent Venables and Jim Knowles right now. Like, this is going to be a conversation happening between Brent Venables and, maybe the agent for Jim Knowles, because Jim Knowles has got plenty of other things to worry about right now. And the other thing is, if you're Oklahoma, you're going to have to pony up a pretty penny to get a guy like Jim Knowles away from Ohio State. But let's play this game here. Let's play this game where Oklahoma gets a guy like Jim Knowles that wants to come in. You would imagine Jim Knowles is going to have some demands, and I would think one of them would probably be the defensive backfield. I would imagine Jim Knowles is going to want to bring in his own guy for the cornerbacks coach. And the reason being is Brandon Hall is great at safeties. I would think he would probably want to retain Brandon Hall at the safeties position. But Jay Valai is a guy that you've heard a lot of Oklahoma fans just kind of be out on, right? A lot of people don't think Jay Valai is as good of a recruiter or a developer as maybe he's been seen to be. Now, I do think Jay Valai has done a good job at Oklahoma recruiting. The only thing is I think if you're Oklahoma, you want to see a cornerbacks coach that maybe puts a little bit more emphasis on size, recruiting those guys out of the portal and the recruiting rankings. And so, there's names out there. And if you're Oklahoma and you're going to go after the biggest name for a defensive coordinator, maybe you've got to go after some of the biggest names at the cornerbacks coach position. And one of the bigger ones currently in college football would be Hank Poteet out at Iowa State, where he's done the most with the little. But Jay Valai, guys, he was the secondary recruiter into Peyton Bowen. He obviously recruited Makari Vickers as the primary recruiter to Oklahoma, got him over Alabama. He helped get Gentry Williams here when it felt like Oklahoma couldn't get a guy like Gentry Williams. At Alabama, he landed guys like Jamarian Miller. He got guys like Earl Little Jr., But at Oklahoma, like, I felt like he's done a good enough job, but the development piece hasn't been there, which is why Oklahoma fans might be out. So if you see a guy like Jim Knowles come in, and I feel like it's pretty much Jim Knowles or bust at this point, but who knows? Who knows what conversations are happening in that room? Maybe a guy like Jay Valai ends up going to take a, lower end defensive coordinator job at like a non P4 school. And then you see Jim Knowles end up, taking like a guy like Hank Poteet, or maybe somebody he's worked with previously, and bringing them in as the cornerbacks coach because he's familiar with it. And he would want somebody a little bit more, just familiar there. Additionally, you've got to look at DeMarco Murray, right? And I think a lot of people were looking at the offensive staff, and you were looking at Joe John Finley and DeMarco Murray this offseason saying, what's going to happen there? And last season, we saw DeMarco Murray kind of, go through the late coaching ringer with Ohio State. And I still think you're going to see some springtime coaching moves. And I'm not sure if Oklahoma is going to be a part of that. But a guy like DeMarco Murray right now, I think, is intriguing. And I'll tell you why here in a second. So the reason why I think a guy like DeMarco Murray is intriguing is because he has obviously some ties to the Dallas Cowboys from his time there. And with the Dallas Cowboys kind of in the mix for a new head coach, you would imagine a guy like DeMarco Murray would be a potential suitor to be a running backs coach for the Dallas Cowboys, because we've kind of always talked about DeMarco Murray potentially always being in the running for an NFL job because he's gotten calls before. Obviously, other college programs want a guy like DeMarco Murray. I don't think he has the skill set yet to go be an offensive coordinator anywhere. So you would imagine if he likes coaching running backs and that's his desirable thing that he wants to do, taking it to the next level, going to the NFL where you're not necessarily having to recruit every single year to get a guy to come be a part of your squad and prepare for the future. A job like the Dallas Cowboys, a place where he's familiar, a place where he has some history, depending on who the head coach is and how they want to assemble their staff, you look at DeMarco Murray as a potential option there. Additionally, you look at it for a guy like Joe John Finley. If Joe John Finley ends up taking an offensive coordinator role, which I think is what you would assume Joe John Finley is waiting on. If Joe John Finley takes an offensive coordinator role, again, it would probably be at a non-Power 4 school. Would he build his offensive staff and potentially bring a guy like DeMarco Murray over as the running backs coach? And would Brent Venables, in this, this administration, want to pay again this time to keep a guy like DeMarco Murray on staff with a guy that is recruited really well, but just kind of like Jay Valai, like you haven't been impressed with the development. And it's kind of one of those things where I know he's had a lot of injuries in that room. And so it's maybe not a fair shake to DeMarco to say that, well, you're not developing well, so we don't want to retain you. So go take that coaching move. Because he hasn't had the talent stay healthy. He's obviously recruited it well, but it might be time for a change. And, this is the thing. Like, everybody's kind of tired of the former Oklahoma ties kind of being coaches here at Oklahoma because it just seems like it's not working out. And so maybe it is time to hit the restart button. Now, if you lose a guy like DeMarco Murray as your running backs coach, you would imagine you're probably going to lose a guy like Javonte Barnes, who has a strong connection with DeMarco Murray. I don't know that to be a fact, but that's just kind of assuming, watching kind of how that relationship has funneled in the past and watching those rumors in the past. So it's going to be intriguing to see if there are more coaching moves incoming for Oklahoma, because I definitely think there will be, especially by the spring. I definitely think you're going to have to be looking for another position coach, especially if, DeMarco Murray's hired on as a running backs coach and the NFL, or even if Jim Knowles decides to just reset some of these guys at the coordinator positions here at Oklahoma on the defensive side of the ball if he gets hired. So I want to hear from y'all. Join the discussion. Jump in the comments below. Give me your thoughts. If you guys have not already and you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys wipe your feet, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you guys next time.